Do you think you're sexually, like, attracted to them?
I don't know if I've ever been asked this question before. This is weird.
You don't want to answer that?
No. But I think he's starting to realize that I have a big part in this decision also. And if he doesn't make me feel 100% sure that this is what he wants, then I don't plan on marrying Maddie. You could not talk to them as much.
You're asking me not to call my family?
I don't know if the stakes have ever been higher for any couple ever on this show. Not only has Maddie left everything behind to be with Stevie, but if he ever ends up going back home, he potentially faces being arrested. Like, that's a lot of pressure on this relationship, isn't it? So why is Stevie doubting him? Well, before we get to that, let's rewind to the start. So the last time we saw Stevie and Maddie, she was getting more worried because he was getting so homesick. In fact, he even hinted that one day he might risk going home. Like, that is a lot to process.
It's definitely hard to act normal whenever I know we have like such big questions and issues kind of just hanging over us right now.
Despite being worried about their future, the pair do need to start building their life together. Like, they do need to figure out what it would be like if they lived together permanently as a married couple. And one part of this, a big part of Maddie's life, is going to the gym. This will be the first time that they're going to the gym together. Only the problem is, this gym is completely different to what Maddie's used to.
This is not normal to me. I've never seen the gym with like females, workout clothes and stuff. So this is something that I've always seen in the movies.
Maddie claims that the powers that be in Iran always imagine every possible way that someone might get turned on. This, he says, having all these women in the same room as me, working out, bending in all sorts of directions, it's exactly the sort of thing that they would never allow. Not only that, he says, but of course women in Iran also have to be fully covered in public. This sort of clothing, workout gear, would also not be allowed, he says. So with this in mind, something that Maddie enjoys doing, going to the gym, has suddenly become a whole lot more confusing, a whole lot more uncomfortable for him. Now, Stevie suggests that they split up and each do their own workouts, but Maddie isn't so sure.
No. Like, I go.
All right.
You figure out what you want to do.
Yeah, I need to warm up. I just can warm up beside you. I feel weird here.
Poor Maddie really does have a whole new world that he has to get used to. There's a lot that seems to make him feel awkward, and those feelings of awkwardness really ramp up when another gym goer, a lady, has to help him with the settings of an exercise machine. Now, considering how uncomfortable this experience is for him, his next question to Stevie is pretty surprising.
Me being a personal trainer, and if a girl comes up to me and wants to have classes with me, would you be okay with it?
I guess my question for you would be like, how professional are you going to be?
Wait, what? It's been awkward for Maddie to even look at women in the gym. So isn't it a bit strange that now he wants to work out with them? Now, the positive here is at least he is thinking of his future, his potential career in the States. So that is a good thing. And Stevie doesn't have much of a problem with it, as long as he understands one key thing. Women here are very different to women in Iran, she says. What would you do if one of them were to ask you out?
What would be the first thing you should say if somebody asks you that kind of question?
Like, I'm married.
That's a good start, right?
He hasn't even started working with women yet, and already Stevie sounds kind of jealous. Yeah, Maddie is going to have to be careful when it comes to picking his clients. Now, Stevie picks this opportunity to ask Maddie a question. How would you feel if the roles were reversed, she asks. Would you have a problem with me working with a woman? To which Maddie replies honestly, yes, I might be worried, he says, but only because I'm already worried. Is there something you want to tell me about you and other women, he asks. I mean, what's the deal with all the boob paintings in your house?
Do you think you're sexually, like, attracted to them?
I don't know if I've ever been asked this question before. This is weird.
You don't want to answer that?
No.
You paint all of these boobs? Is that because you're bisexual? Maddie wants to know. Now, Stevie is shocked by this question. How could he even ask that, she asks. Why should I answer that? Like, he's the person I'm attracted to. He's the person I want to marry. Why is he having doubts? Now, don't get me wrong. Questioning your fiancé's sexuality right before you're due to get married is a red flag. But refusing to answer him, even when he's explained why he's worried, isn't exactly a great look either. What is it with guys? Stevie asks, annoyed. You're just like my dad.
Oh, so your dad has asked that too?
Yeah, you guys are weird.
Maybe he has seen something.
I think he was being sarcastic.
Are you sure he hasn't seen anything?
If Stevie was hoping to reassure Mahdi, then telling him that her dad also has exactly the same concerns isn't the way to do it. Now, she tries to backtrack by saying that my dad was just joking. There's nothing to worry about. But the fact that she still hasn't given him a direct answer, she still hasn't said, no, I'm not bisexual, is a concern for Mahdi.
You were like so vague about it. You don't
I'm
see
not
that?
going to give you any answer that I think you're wanting, so we should just end the conversation.
All right.
Okay.
Now, as far as Stevie's concerned, she says she doesn't understand why he'd think that. So in her mind, she doesn't feel like she has to confirm or deny anything. But Mahdi, on the other hand, he doesn't know how he can marry her unless she gives him a direct answer. Like, he doesn't want to risk getting married only to find out that he isn't enough for her. Now, to be honest, I kind of don't really understand Stevie's point here. I don't understand what the big deal is. Just say no, be clear, and put his mind to rest. But she refuses, and so the workout has now left them with more tension than they had before. So, in a bid to try and relax them both, Stevie organises a date night, and as usual, this is completely new for Mahdi.
I never even saw my parents kiss each other or hug each other. This date night is kind of a new thing to me, and
It's
I'm
new
really...
for me too. I'm not a romantic person.
Oh.
Well, that does make a nice change, doesn't it? At least Stevie is also having a new experience here too. Now, the pair drink some wine, again, something that wouldn't have been allowed in Iran. And this time, instead of painting some boobs or a butt, they mutually decide that they're going to paint Mahdi's guns. Like, it's nice to see. For a change, these two actually appear to be having some fun together. Only the fun times don't last. You see, when they're finished painting, Mahdi tells Stevie that he has something important he'd like to talk to her about.
The prices of changing my status to permanent resident is just increasing so bad.
You told me you were worried about it. Yeah, it's like going to
So, yeah.
double or something.
If we get married earlier, then not only will the prices be lower, but also I get to start working earlier, he tells Stevie. Now, keep in mind, at the moment, they have about 80 days left before they're legally required to get married. But the problem is, Stevie isn't on board with this. She's not ready. She's not comfortable enough yet to commit to marrying him right now.
As far as getting married, at this point right now, I don't know how I feel about that, like rushing it.
Understandably, rightly, Stevie still has a lot of questions. You keep telling me that you miss your family, that you're not sure you want to stay here forever. How exactly do you want to rush into getting married with all those doubts? Stevie wants to know. Like, sure, yeah, saving money would be good, it makes sense, but there's absolutely no point in rushing into something if they're both not sure about it. Now, in a bid to answer and reassure Stevie, Mahdi tries to promise her that he will learn to adapt. But the question is, how can he know that for sure?
I definitely don't feel like Mahdi should be asking me to push up the wedding if he's not 100% sure that this is what he really wants. Since Mahdi got here, he's been having these doubts and questions.
Look, 90 days is short enough as it is. Expediting that timeline even further for a couple like these two that barely know each other, that have barely spent any time together in person, really does sound crazy. Now, thankfully, Stevie does stand firm. She tells him she needs to feel better about their relationship before she can choose for sure what she wants to do, whether she wants to marry him. But that admission, that honesty, really shocks Mahdi. This appears to have blindsided him. Like, he genuinely seems like it never occurred to him that they both have a choice in whether or not they're going to get married. He seems to have thought that it was guaranteed.
But I think he's starting to realize that I have a big part in this decision also. And if he doesn't make me feel 100% sure that this is what he wants, then I don't plan on marrying Mahdi.
Stevie says that right now she has absolutely no plans to marry him unless they can both be sure that this will be forever. At the moment, she says, there's just too many doubts about that. Like, I'm not ready to make that decision yet. Now, just to add to the confusion and doubt that Stevie feels, she also shares her worry that every time Mahdi speaks to his family, his doubts about staying in America, his homesickness, seems to get worse. And Mahdi himself agrees that this is a very real problem.
Whenever I wake up, I call my family in Iran, and unfortunately, my mom starts crying. It's really hard.
Mahdi says that he's trying his best to balance these two worlds. The world that I'm living in now and the world that I've left behind. But it's not easy. I mean, you can understand that, can't you? It can't be nice, it can't be easy, hearing his mum down the phone crying every day, not sure that she'll ever get to see her son again. Like, you can understand why that would make someone homesick. But Stevie says that she has a solution to this. It's a solution that Mahdi isn't gonna like.
You could not talk to them as much.
You're asking me not to call my family?
You can still talk to them, but just don't call them every single day, Stevie says. You have to try and adapt to living here, and calling them all the time makes you feel like you're still living there, she claims. Now, not surprisingly, Mahdi isn't happy with this suggestion. In his mind, he's already lost his family, he's already been through something very traumatic. How can she now ask me to cut off contact with them? He thinks that's unreasonable. He says that's a selfish suggestion. Only Stevie doesn't see it like that. In fact, in her mind, she sees it as a necessity. She sees it as the only way that they can strengthen their relationship. And if they can't do that, then she doesn't want to get married.
What I'm telling you is that if I don't know that you're 100% sure, then I'm not going to be able to marry you.
Mahdi feels like Stevie is asking him to choose between her or his family, but he feels that by being here, he's already made that choice. Now, further limiting how much he gets to talk to his family doesn't seem like something he's willing to do. But at this point, with yet more doubts now surfacing, you've got to ask the question, is marriage actually right for these two? One way or another, the clock is ticking. They have 80 days and counting to figure it out.